What inspires me to create is color. My name is Maryanna Powell, and I am a modern quilter. I just love everything colorful and patchwork and just knowing that I can take these scraps of fabric and turn them into something that people are gonna be wowed by. So my creative process is I sew what I want. It just really depends on what my mood is as to what I'm gonna make that day. So I've got a whole bunch of works in progress at the house, and it's just kind of, you know, I've got a stack of blocks over here that I brought to work on while I'm here, so I've worked on that some. I've got another work in progress over there that, you know, maybe I want to work on my Stars Above quilt or my checkers quilt, or I'll just bring stuff in with me. So it really just depends on my mood. I love scrappy. So I try to use as much of the fabrics as I can, you know, down to the smallest pieces. You know, last weekend here, I was using pieces that were like 3/4 inch wide strips to make something, you know, just having fun and playing and experimenting and seeing what you can do with that stuff. So what scrappy is to me is all different kinds of fabrics. It doesn't have to be all from one fabric line or all from one designer or even all from one manufacturer. It's just looking at the smaller pieces of fabric that you have and throwing something together. Like patchwork, like I've got patchwork quilts that I've made where I've got 120 squares, and I cut a square from 120 different fabrics that are all different kinds of manufacturers and designers, and there's old fabrics and there's new fabrics, and there's just whatever I felt like cutting into that day. I enjoyed, I think probably my favorite part of the workshops was when for the first two, people brought kids. And I loved that kids were coming in, and the tote bag that's on the wall back there, there was, I'm not sure how old she was, probably 7 or 8 maybe, learning how to stitch, learning how to thread the needle, you know, like picking out her fabrics and, you know, just like laying them out and playing with that. And then there was, I think 4 kids maybe that came to the bookmark class. So it was just neat to see kids wanting to come in and sew and create. I want my art to make people smile or to go, wow, like didn't realize you could do that with a quilt. There's just so many things that you can do. Quilts aren't just for quilts. It's about creating something that is going to make you happy. It's about, you know, you finding joy in the process and not stressing over everything has to be perfect. You know, if machine binding your quilts is what works for you, great. If you prefer hand binding, that's fine. But your modern quilters aren't going to talk down to you because you machine bind, if machine binding is what works for you. So I think the residency has helped me kind of grow and develop. It's given me more confidence to put myself out there. Because 2 years ago, I never would have done something like this. I never would have been like, hey, quilts are art, but they are. You know, the whole process. I mean, there are just so many different arts out there. So this has given me the confidence to keep putting my work out there and keep, you know, showing people quilts are art too. The anatomy of a quilt. This is going to be the top. I'm going to make another one of these notebook covers. So this, and then I'll add fabric to it to make it big enough. And then you have batting. I prefer cotton batting. There's also polyester batting. There's all different kinds of blends. There's wool, there's bamboo. I usually just use cotton batting. I like to make small projects because I even like to use up like all of my scraps of batting too. And then you'll have a backing, which for my notebook holder here, I went with this starry print. So you'll have 3 layers, and you lay your backing down and your batting, and then your top, and then you quilt that. So you've got the 3 layers. 3 layers is what makes it a quilt. Binding is what is around the outside edge. So the binding encompasses the raw seams. So that way it finishes the edge. Plans to keep creating are just to keep, like sewing brings me joy. So I'm just gonna keep making what I want to make because that's my happy place. I've got a lot of fabric at the house that I need to work my way through eventually. So I'm just gonna keep on creating. I don't plan on quitting anytime soon.